Alright, you lot. Today we're diving headfirst into absolute travesty known as skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM for short. You know, that genius idea where they take all fun out of gaming and replace it with soul-crushing grind at middle. Yeah, that one. If you ever found yourself getting stomped by sweat-soaked tryhards who play like there's championship online, welcome to Party Pal. I'll be your grumpy guide through hellscape and modern matchmaking. But before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe and all that bollocks. It helps channel grow apparently. I mean, who knew that clicking a button could have such an impact on my blood pressure? Anyway, let's get to it. Now let's get into nuts and bolts of this madness. SBMM, skill-based matchmaking. Sounds like something dreamt up by a bloke who hates fun. Concept? Simple. Game takes a look at your stats, your wins, losses, KD ratio, how many headshots you got while eating a sandwich, and decides to stick you in lobbies full of people with similar skills. In theory, it's meant to keep matches fair. In reality, it's like strapping on a weighted vest every time you want to have a kick around with your mates. Fair. Right, because no one says fair like playing a match where every other git's a wannabe esports pro, leaving you to wonder if your controller's broken or if you are. But hey, it's all in name of balance, or whatever corporate marketing twaddle they're peddling these days. In good old days, matchmaking were a bit of free-for-all. You could end up in a match with a mix of noobs and veterans alike, which meant that sometimes you get stomped. But other times you'd absolutely annihilate, and that, my friend, is what we call fun factor. But SBMM, that's for people who enjoy a consistent stream of near-identical matches, where every single game feels like a chore. Yay! Fun! But don't worry, it's all for your benefit, so you can improve. Because clearly, if you're not sweating bullets in every game, are you even gaming? Let me take you back to a simpler time, Black Ops 3. Good old days when I could hop into a game, have a laugh, and maybe even pull off a ridiculous kill streak while humming along to some classic rock. Kind of gaming session where you win some, you lose some, and at the end of it, you feel like you've actually had a good time. Endgame Modern Warfare 2019. Oh boy, did fun go right out window. SBMM turned every match into a bloody slog. No more casual sessions where you could relax after a long day. Nope, gotta be on your A game. Every game. That's where it all started to go downhill for me. It's like I decided to take Call of Duty experience and crank up misery dial to 11. I went from enjoying a few rounds with my mates to feeling like I'm stuck in endless loop of sweaty, no-holds-barred death matches. You want to play casually? Too bad, mate. Here's a match with people who could probably smell your fear through screen. Look, I got a PhD in gaming strategy. Literally. And even I don't want to deal with this constant try-hard nonsense. So this game decided that having fun were optional, and instead it's all about grinding and improving. But who asked for this? I just wanted to pop heads and throw grenades, not get roped into some digital boot camp. And before you say, yeah, I know, get good and all that, but there's a difference between a challenge and just sucking joy out of a game. With SBMM, it's like gamers actively trying to make sure you never ever feel good about yourself. Brilliant, innit? So yeah, SBMM has been about as enjoyable as a punch in face. And it's not just me, plenty of other casual players feel the same. We didn't sign up for relentless grind fest. We signed up to have fun. Remember fun? Yeah, me neither. Let's talk about forgotten warriors at gaming world. Us casual players. You know, ones who want to kick back after a long day, crack open a beer and unwind by shooting some digital baddies. But with SBMM? Ah, no, you're not allowed to have a relaxing time. Instead, you're thrown into deep end with people who probably study hitbox physics for fun. Back in the day, games had this beautiful thing called a learning curve. Started off getting your ass handed to you, sure, but gradually you got better. You learned from your mistakes, had a few laughs along the way, and maybe, just maybe, you'd have a glorious moment where everything clicked and you went on a mad tear. It's magic of gaming, folks. But SBMM? Nah, I don't believe in learning curve. More like a learning wall. A brick wall that you keep running into first. You're either just good enough to keep up, or you're crushed under weight of constant competition. Well, it's time to experiment. To try out new strategies without getting obliterated. Gone, that's where. And for casual player, it's like being stuck in a game of football where other side's always Manchester United and your Sunday League team that's been out on piss. And don't get me started on what this does to the learning process. SBMM takes every match and cranks up difficulty, so instead of getting better gradually, you're just struggling to stay afloat. There's no breathing room, no chance to try out new tactics without getting shot in the face 5 seconds later. It's like trying to learn to swim by being thrown into a shark-infested pool. You're more focused on survival than actually improving. And it's not just solo players who suffer. When you're playing with your mates, SBMM turns what should be a fun casual session into a stressful hyper-competitive nightmare. Instead of having a laugh, you're all sweating buckets trying not to let team down. That's not fun, that's a job. And I don't need another one of those. SBMM kills joy of learning, thrill of discovery, and sheer fun of gaming. It turned what should be an enjoyable hobby into a bloody endurance test. And if you ask me, that's a travesty. Games are supposed to be about entertainment, not about testing how long you can stand being kicked in teeth. Now let's do a little comparison, shall we? You got traditional matchmaking, a beautiful system where you might get matched with anyone from a wide-eyed beginner to a battle-hardened veteran. It's unpredictable, chaotic, and most importantly, it's fun. You never knew what you were going to get, and that was part of the charm. Some matches were easy wins, others were absolute bloodbaths, but that variety, that's what made gaming worth it. Traditional matchmaking were like a good Yorkshire pub. You'd walk in, find all sorts there. Young, old, rowdy, quiet. And sure, you might get stuck talking to a weirdo in corner, but that were all part of experience. You'd have your ups and downs. But overall, it were a cracking good time. SBMM, on the other hand, like one of those soulless chain bars where every pint costs a fiver and every punter looks like they've just escaped from an office cubicle. Sure, it's consistent, but it's also boring as hell. With traditional matchmaking, stakes were varied. Sometimes you'd get an easy ride, and sometimes you'd face a team that made you question all your life choices. But it was that unpredictability that made it fun. You could have a laugh with your mates, experiment a bit, and maybe even pull off some crazy stunts without feeling like every match was final round at World Championship. SBMM, on the other hand, narrows experience. It's like playing the same bloody match over and over again. It's all about balance. But what they don't tell you is this so-called balance means every game feels like a bloody job interview. You're constantly on edge, constantly pushing with no room to breathe. What's fun in that? Traditional matchmaking gave players a reason to stick around. It wasn't perfect, no it is, but it was engaging. It had its highs and lows, peaks and valleys. And that kept us coming back for more. SBMM, it flattens everything out. Every match is a grind, and sooner or later that grind wears you down. Casual players get fed up, veterans get frustrated, and the whole thing collapses under weight to its own fairness. So here's the deal. Traditional matchmaking wasn't just a better system, it were a more human one. It embraced chaos, unpredictability, and sheer joy of gaming. SBMM might be great on paper, but in practice it's about as much fun as a root canal. And if you ask me, it's time we brought back madness, variety, and bloody good times that made gaming great in the first place. And if you stuck around this long, you're either as fed up as I am, or you just enjoy listening to a grumpy Yorkshireman lose his mind over a game. Either way, cheers for that. But here's the thing, I'm not just ranting for the sake of it. There's a point to all this. Gaming used to be about having a laugh, blowing off steam, and maybe even learning a thing or two along the way. But with SBMM, it feels like we've lost that spark. Corporate suits have traded unpredictability, thrill at game, for something that's sterile, repetitive, and frankly boring as hell. And who benefits from that? Not us, that's for sure. Here's my message to corporate suits. It's time to reconsider this whole SBMM obsession. We're not asking for an easy ride, we're asking for a fun one. Bring back chaos and variety, room to breathe, experiment, and heaven forbid, even enjoy ourselves. Games are supposed to be about entertaining, not bloody endurance tests. Because at the end of the day, if we're not having fun, what's the point? We play games to escape, relax, to connect with our mates, not to feel like we're grinding through a second job. So to all suits out there, do us all a favour and rethink this nonsense. Gears back games we fell in love with, ones that were wild, unpredictable, and most importantly, fun. And to all you magnificent gamers out there, if you agree with me, or even if you don't, let's keep this conversation going. So smash that like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts and gaming stories. Might just feature them on channel. I'll see you next time, you magnificent